Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to a Tuesday morning edition of the Daily Juice Podcast. My name is Matt Perrault. We're with you every single morning here for the Daily Juice Podcast, being brought to you by BetMGM. BetMGM, the offer, great time to use it as we begin the tournament today in Dayton, Ohio. You get a $10 bet in there with the promo code JUICE150 at betmgm.com for a new user, and they give you $150. Give you $150. Win or lose on that $10 bet for BetMGM. Okay, so we didn't have anything going yesterday, but man, in-game betting right now for the NBA is a lot of fun. A lot of fun. How about after the first quarter, the Denver Nuggets were catching 10.5 points from the Sixers. They won the game outright. Look for those betting opportunities in-game right now. If you have access to in-game wagering, if you don't get in, and I liked the Sixers, I did, pregame, but I was like, 1.5, I don't know what to do. Came in, took the in-game at plus 10.5. I laid the 4 with the Raptors. I put that on my Twitter account from my other show. We had Raptors, but I didn't make it official. But picks and plays, NBA basketball, not a bad night, 2-0 night in the NBA. That's why follow me on Twitter at Sports Talk Matt. Decent place to follow me. You'll get every play, not just Daily Juice plays, things that I make throughout the entire day. So it's time for the madness. Before we do that, quick update on what we're doing with the fundraiser with Sweet C, letter C, S, bakery.com. You guys crashed their site. You crashed their site. There was so much traffic on their website that you crashed it. I don't know where we are because there are some back-ordered and issues because you guys crashed their site. So keep going. If you didn't get through, if you got a message that said overloaded or something along those lines, please go back to sweet letter C, sbakery.com. Buy the cookies, pay your invoice. Let's raise some money. Let's get to 500 orders and $5,000. A bunch of you, we had $400 in donations made in the name of the Daily Juice. I saw those receipts yesterday, so that's phenomenal. I think that brings us to a grand total of, I think, $800 in donations so far. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that $800 into as if they were purchases. So that's pretty good, right? I mean, that's really good. So, that's 20 orders right there. So really cool stuff with that, right? No, that's more. That's 40 orders, right? 40 times 20, 800. Yeah, so 40 orders. So there we go. So we've got that going, helping us get towards our goal of 500 orders. So we're well on our way. That should put us somewhere in the neighborhood around 200, but that's without even knowing what we got from a number perspective. I know we did a lot more of that numbers-wise. So paying your invoice is very important. They're going to 2-day ship it out. They're good. TJ and Cecilia are ready to rock here for the second annual Daily Juice fundraiser to benefit the Ronald McDonald House, off and running towards our $5,000 goal. Okay, so here is where we are today. 3 bets, 2 in the NCAA tournament and 1 in the NIT. So let's start with the NIT. Porter Moser, Oklahoma at home against Missouri State. Normally, I would come in here and say, take the dog. But here is the thing. Quick turn for Missouri State. One of the youngest head coaches in all of college basketball, and he's facing the first-year head coach in Porter Moser, who came from the Valley. He will know who's coming to Norman. He will have his players ready to go for this game. Normally, you'd worry about a big level team, overlooking a smaller level team because do they want to be in this tournament? Do they care about this tournament? It's always tough to bet when it comes to a motivational factor. But Missouri State was 9-8 on the road this year, away from home, 9-11 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Oklahoma 11-9, 8-8. But Oklahoma ended the year on a 5-0 run ATS. They're 5-0 ATS. Even in the loss to Texas Tech, they were catching 7.5. They lost by 1 and got bounced from the Big 12 tournament. They beat Baylor. Huge win for them. They're playing really well. They beat Oklahoma State, West Virginia, Kansas State, and Baylor. And here's the thing about Missouri State. Offensively, they're a really good team, one of the most efficient offenses in the country, but lost to Drake by 1 in overtime in the Valley Tournament. They beat Valpo, they beat Evansville, but they lost to Northern Iowa by 20 points on the road in their second to last road game. And they lost to Loyola Chicago by 9 at home. And on the road, I mean, that loss to Northern Iowa by 20 really concerns me. That's like, they lost to St. Mary's by 17 when they were on the road, catching 6.5 points. The line is 6 here. They lost by 17. They were catching 1.5 points to BYU. They lost by 6. I don't know. I mean, you could make the case the best non-conference win for them was South Dakota State. They were at home laying 3.5 and they won by 12. But that's their only win against anybody who's in the NCAA tournament. This is the NIT, mind you, but I don't know. The win over Loyola Chicago on the road by 10 was impressive, but that's when Loyola went through that weird dip in the middle part of the year where they weren't playing very well. They lost by 9 at home in the revenge game for Loyola Chicago. So, Loyola got them the next time. But that 20-point loss to Northern concerns me here. 6 feels a little heavy, but Porter Moser coming from the Valley, I'm going to lay the 6 points here. Oklahoma, according to KenPom, it should be a 5-point victory, but this is the highest ranked KenPom team not in the NCAA tournament field. 30th, according to KenPom. I think Porter Moser in his first year, they want to get after it. I think they want to win the NIT, frankly. And they're at home. Norman fans will show up, I believe. I'm going to lay the 6 points. Oklahoma -6 against Missouri State for a 0.5 unit here in the NIT. Home crowd, home environment, and I think Porter Moser has his guys focused and ready to go. Don't think offensively Missouri State's got enough firepower to overcome the Oklahoma defense, and I like Porter Moser a lot as the head coach of Oklahoma up against a Valley opponent in the first round of the NIT. Oklahoma -6, 0.5 unit. Okay, second game, and let's talk about a really ugly game. A really ugly game. It's a tournament game. 2 16 seeds playing against each other, and we've got Texas Southern up against Texas A&M Corpus Christi. According to KenPom, it's a 3-point win for Texas Southern. Okay, 3.5 is the total. Here's the wild thing about Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Texas A&M Corpus Christi, 1, is coached by Steve Lutz. Steve Lutz has been a pretty interesting figure in my life over the years. Steve Lutz, former assistant coach at Creighton University, someone I've had lobster dinners with, someone I've hung out in Vegas together. I've had a lot of connections with Steve Lutz over the years. He went from Creighton, he went to Purdue, and for Purdue, he went to Texas A&M Corpus Christi, where his team went 20-10 against the spread this year. This team was supposed to suck, okay? They were not supposed to be good. Got a couple of cool transfers come in, and they've played really hard. They have covered 4 of the last 5 and 8 of the last 10. Get this, Texas A&M Corpus Christi is 17-4 ATS away from home. 17-4. Texas Southern 16-13-1 in their conference. On the road, away from home, 12-8-1. Not horrible at all. But I think that hook is significant. I would bet on Coach Lutz regardless, okay? Because I have a ton of respect for the guy, and I'm so happy for him. He waited for so long to get to become a head coach, and he takes this team, and I think they win their first ever tournament game. I think they beat Texas Southern, but just to be safe, I'm taking the 3.5 points for a 0.5 unit. Complete caveat here, okay? These are 2 16 seeds playing in Dayton, Ohio with no fans there and a whole lot of travel to get to Dayton to turn around and play after Selection Sunday, okay? It's a really hard game to handicap. All sorts of crazy things can happen. You can fade this if you want. This is just a personal play, or it's an official play based on a personal connection, how much I'm cheering for Coach Lutz, and why they're 17-4 ATS. I mean, 17-4 ATS. Are you serious? It's incredible. Texas A&M Corpus Christi, plus 3.5 for a half a unit. And finally, the one game that everybody actually wants to watch, Indiana taking on Wyoming. Indiana -4. Indiana on the year, 19-14. They're going to have fans there, okay? Hoosier fans are going to drive to Dayton. They're going to be there in force. Indiana and Mike Woodson, huge run in the Big Ten tournament. Wyoming is 17-13-2. Wyoming was 10-9-1 in the Mountain West Conference, 12-11 Indiana in the Big Ten, 7-8 away from home. Wyoming 11-7 ATS. But Indiana, over the last 4 games, covered them all, lost 2 of them outright. Lost to Iowa by 3, lost to Purdue by 2, beat Michigan and beat Illinois. They beat Minnesota, laying 3.5. They beat Maryland by 10, laying 6.5. 6-4 over the last 10 for Indiana, 4-6 for Wyoming. Look I'm going to fade the Big Ten. I told you that last night. I'm going to fade the Big Ten a lot here. However, I like this Indiana team a lot. I like the way they're playing, and I don't really like the Mountain West Conference. I watched a lot of Mountain West Conference basketball. I don't think they've got the athletes. This is a 1-point loss, according to KenPom. They think Wyoming is live to stay in this game. Some of the efficiency ratings, they think it's going to be there. And saying, they've got a chance with their defensive rebounding, top 50 in the country, to not allow second chance points for Indiana. But look, I just think Indiana's the better team here. I don't like that I'm laying 4 and there's 3 points of value by taking Wyoming. A lot of people are going to be on Wyoming. This game's on True TV, by the way. You better figure out where True TV is if you're going to bet on Indiana, Wyoming. Better find out where that is. It's the 9:10 Eastern time tip. It's the late game here. I just think Wyoming doesn't have the athletes to hang with Indiana. And I think this Indiana team is playing really, really well. Not a huge fan of what I've seen with Wyoming. They were great at home. They weren't that great on the road. This is a neutral court game. I don't think they've got the firepower. I know they've got some nice players. They got a good guard. They got a good center. Just think Indiana's a deeper team. I think Indiana's the more talented team. And just looking at power numbers and power ratings, Indiana's the better team here between the two. It's interesting to look at why KenPom only has as a 1-point loss. That's one of those okay, interesting. Even though they do like Indiana, they don't like Indiana to cover. KenPom's got Indiana as the 36th best team in the country. They've got Wyoming as the 58th best team in the country. Not that's the end all be all, but give me Indiana. I'll lay the 4 points. Indiana -4 for a half a unit. It probably is very sweaty. It's probably free throws down the stretch we're going to need here. It's probably a 5 or 6 point win for Indiana, but I think there is the potential that if Indiana hits their threes that they can run away and hide with Wyoming, because I don't think Wyoming can score with Indiana. So the total is 132.5. You could bet the under. I wouldn't hate an underplay on this game by any means. I think it's going to be a pretty, slow-paced game. Both these teams, 16-17 Indiana to the over this year, 16-16 Wyoming on the road, 8-7 to the over, 6-12 to the over for Wyoming, but has a lot to do with them being at home, 10-4 to the over at home. They were a much better basketball team at home this year than they were on the road. This game is neutral. They lost by 7 to Boise State in the quarters of the Mountain West Conference tournament. They beat UNLV in the first round. They called that technically a road game, but they won by 3, 59-56. And that game went under by 20 points with a 135 total. This is a 132.5 total. Lean under. I'll take Indiana. Indiana -4 up against Wyoming. Okay, so 3 bets for us, all half a units. I very well might come in with a couple of player props or a hockey bet or two. There's a couple of hockey totals I'm watching here that I might jump in and make official. 6, I haven't really come around entirely yet to fire on them, but coming around on the idea of dropping a hockey bet today on a total, because I do think there's some value. It's a big, big slate. Boston and Chicago is 6. The over in that game just hit at 6. So Boston at Chicago, that's a game I may be betting over on. You got Colorado at Los Angeles. That could be an underplay. And what was the other one I was looking at? And Vegas and Winnipeg could be an overplay. Vegas at Winnipeg, that could be an overplay as well. So don't know yet as to what I'm going to do with the other half a unit. May jump in, may do player props, not sure. But officially, we are taking Oklahoma -6, half a unit. Texas A&M for Texas A&M Corpus Christi +3.5. And we're laying the 4 with Indiana here for a half a unit. My name is Matt Perrault. Follow me on Twitter @SportsTalkMatt. Every single morning, it's the Daily Juice Podcast. Always being brought to you by BetMGM.